Hi, I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
I'm Michael Burke, and this is Money Talks. Hi, welcome to Money Talks, the Journal Times online business show. I'm business reporter Michael Burke, and today we are filming the show at this gorgeous Johnson Outdoors retail store at 555 Main Street in Racine, Wisconsin, with store manager Steve Van Dis. And this is going to be fun stuff to talk about. And by the way, I got to say, as I just told Steve, we're doing this is the most comfortable chair I've sat in yet for one of our shows. These are the Eureka chairs. How long have they been on the market?
They've been on the market for about 2 years now. They're called the Curvy chair. We do them in 3 sizes. Just a great packable chair for whether you're at the beach, out at a soccer game, any event. They're really comfortable.
And you were mentioning too, the arms are low enough so if you play guitar, as some of us do.
Yeah, one of the best comments I got from a customer is he was thrilled with them because he could play his guitar in them, and the arms weren't hitting, the guitar wasn't hitting the armrest.
Yeah, and they feel very stable, by the way, unlike some camp chairs.
It was one of the designs with his chairs. They wanted a low enough armrest that when you're standing up, you could firmly put your hands down, support the body weight as you're getting up. So they made a real solid package.
Yeah. We'll come back to some of the other products in Eureka too. I thought, just to establish at the outset a couple things now, is this the only Johnson Outdoors retail store? Let's talk about the outlet, where you sell and how you sell.
As far as Johnson Outdoors as a corporation, this is the only store that we have that has all of our brands, from diving, marine electronics, our camping and outdoor equipment gear, and then our watercraft brands. We have 2 traditional scratch and dent outlets, one at Eureka Camping in Binghamton, New York, and then the other one at our Old Town Canoe facility in Old Town, Maine.
So if you want to see everything and see it with your own eyes, this is really the place to come.
We have a selection of all of our brands here. I mean, obviously we're limited by space and I can't carry everything. But yeah, we'll have everything from titanium regulators to wood canoes to carbon fiber kayaks, and we try and have everything in between.
Now, how many brands does Johnson Outdoors have?
Last time I checked, it was around 14 brands.
That many? And were they all acquisitions at one time or another?
Yes, they're all acquisitions. Johnson Outdoors was started in 1970, the same year as Johnson Bank, when Sam Johnson was trying to diversify some of the holdings of the company. And he started looking for things they could do to kind of offset if the economy got slow, and outdoor equipment was one of the things that was high on their mark. So the company that they bought, the first brands they bought we no longer have were some fishing reels. No longer part of the company, but the oldest ones we currently have would Old Town Canoe would be one of the oldest that was purchased in 1974.
But it's been around a lot longer than that.
Absolutely. Old Town got its start in Old Town, Maine in the late 1800s, and then it formally became Old Town Canoe around 1905, I believe it was, early 1900s.
Well, since you brought up canoes, let's kind of start there, because you guys carry how many different canoe brands? I know you have Old Town, obviously. You have Necky.
In the watercraft, we have Old Town, which builds canoes and kayaks, Ocean kayaks, and then Necky kayaks.
And you carry both canoes and kayaks. So let's talk about some of the differences and why one would choose one over the other. What would lend itself to choosing a canoe, first of all?
One of the things we commonly refer to, we call the canoe the SUV of the 17th century. I mean, they were designed to haul people and gear across water, across lakes, across rivers. And to a certain degree, that's still their mission. They're a larger boat, larger load carrying capacity, generally longer water lines to get some nice speed, tracking out of them. Traditionally, we see folks today buying canoes if they're going to be going on a trip. They've got a family, want to bring children with them, pets, dogs, bring some camping gear.
It's got the versatility. You can have a little toddler in the middle or a dog with you or what have you.
Or a couple people and a lot of gear if you're going to be going on a 4 or 5 day trip, say up to the Boundary Waters area. But it is something generally, because it is larger, generally requires 2 people to get either on the vehicle, on a trailer, to paddle, so a little bit bigger. And that's where we see kind of segue into the kayaks. Kayaks, because they're smaller, more nimble, generally a little lighter. Kayaks tend to be one-person boats, and been very popular.
And in fact, more so than canoes, you were telling me.
Lately, yeah, we're probably 3 or 4 to 1, however many kayaks we buy over canoes. We'll see folks buying canoes, like I said, if they've got families, they want to haul gear, but when it comes down to something they can do individually where they don't need somebody else to be with them, definitely they go for a kayak.
Let's talk about what's new in the canoes or kayaks in your company. You showed me, for example, a canoe with a sliding seat. Talk about that.
Well, we've got a new tandem out from Old Town Canoe this year called the Twin Heron, and it's a pretty neat design. Traditionally, with tandem kayaks, in order to get the balance right, if you wanted to paddle it solo, or if you wanted to take an adult with a child or an adult with a dog, you would have to slide one of the seats to trim out the hull so it sat level in the water. Mm-hmm. Our new design features what they call an auto trim hull, where you no longer have to do that. The way the hull is designed and the way it displaces water, you can be sitting in the back solo, and that boat's going to ride level, which is a really nice feature for if you've got an adult, as I said, with a small child up front.
Because you can quickly get in, and
exactly,
you don't have to adjust for the situation.
You don't have to adjust for the situation. They've been popular with folks that want to use them for photography, where they put all their gear in the front, sit in the back. It gives them a level platform. You can actually take the front seat completely out. So if you got a big dog, we have some customers that like to take their canine friends with them. Yeah. They can pull that seat out and have the dog in the front. It gives them a stable platform to operate with.
Now, right above our heads is a kayak with a really new feature. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, this is a boat from our Ocean Kayak brand. It was done called the Torque, and it was designed in conjunction with our Marine Electronics group and the folks from Minn Kota. Kayak fishing is definitely a growing segment of the population in the kayak world. And as with all fishermen, especially in kayak fishing, they're out there more to fish than they are to paddle a kayak, but the kayak is the vehicle that gets them to where the fish are. So what we've done with this boat is we've built it so that it incorporates a little 12-volt electric trolling motor. So the battery mounts in the center cockpit up front. The trolling motor.
A chargeable battery or what?
You'd use like a deep cycle marine battery, just like you would in a boat, so it is rechargeable. Mm-hmm. Battery's not included. That's something you have to provide separately. But the motor is rated for fresh or salt water, so you can take it in the ocean, you can take it in inland lakes, rivers, wherever you like. You can run all day with it, so the pilot can be free to fish. It uses a larger rudder system than you traditionally see in a kayak, so you can use it for direction control, so you can sort of steer with your feet. You've got a throttle down in the center console, so once you establish that, off you go. One of the neat things with it as well is if you want to paddle it as a traditional kayak, the motor's actually in a sealed pod that lifts right out. You can replace it with a blank skeg, and now you can paddle like a traditional kayak. And that also comes into play when you want to car top the boat. You can take the motor out, you can take the battery out, so you don't have a really heavy wave you're trying to get up above your head.
And what brand is that?
That's Ocean Kayak.
We started with Old Town, your oldest brand. Why don't we jump to the newest brand, a very recent acquisition?
Sure, the new acquisition would be a company called Jetboil out of Manchester, New Hampshire. Let me grab one here a second, excuse me as I pivot around here. Basically what we have here is just a slick system. They are a self-contained, packable personal cooking system for backpacking and camping applications. They're a small propane-powered system, which is run in a canister down below. You've got a burner element, then you have your cooking vessel, and with all of the Jetboil systems, everything packs down inside of the cooking vessel, so it makes for a nice kind of...
So this is all that you're really carrying?
Yep, and this is
really light. It's super light.
This one has a titanium vessel, so it makes it really light for when you're out on the trail, and every ounce counts. This is a 1.8-liter cooking vessel. We make them with a 1 liter and a 0.8, so we actually make a little bit smaller ones. And one of the big advantages to this system is down on the bottom of the cooking vessel itself, you have a series, almost looks like a series of fins in here, and Jetboil refers to this as the flux ring. And what this does is this really helps distribute the heat, so this thing boils really fast. When you're out on the trail, you basically have, you're carrying whatever you need. Yeah. So you want a real efficient stove, so it'll get the water up to a boil quickly so you can cook your food. You're not wasting fuel, so you don't have to take as much fuel.
How many times could you heat something with that if you're on?
This is a 100-gram fuel canister, and this is rated for about 60 minutes of burn time, and it takes 2 to 3 minutes to boil water.
Okay, so you might get up to 20,
about 20
dishes out of it.
Yep, exactly.
And that comes in a couple different sizes?
Comes in a couple different sizes. This is the Jetboil Sumo, which is the largest in a personal system, a 1.8 liter. We have the Flash system, which has a 1 liter vessel, and the Soul and the Zip, which have a 0.8 liter. Then they also have a Guide series, which uses a 2 or 3 liter cooking pot in more of a base camp type application.
What's the starting price on these things?
The starting price on the Zip is $79.99. They go up to about $200 for the base camp, the Helios system.
And how are they doing for you so far? Your acquisition was in November 2012, right?
Yep, November 2012. It's been a great acquisition for it. It dovetails in nicely with our Eureka brand and Silver brand. In our camping group, we've got a good distribution channel going with them, so it's been a seamless acquisition. We're still kind of, with any acquisition, it takes a little while to get up and running, and now we're just kind of starting to hit the season. So we've been we've been very enthused with the sales so far. A lot of promise for this up in Canada, and we're really pushing it hard up there with our distribution up in Canada. So we've been very pleased with it. It's been a great acquisition.
Since we're on camping, let's talk a little more about the Eureka brand and the chairs we're sitting in. But one of the newer things in Eureka is the furniture behind you,
Yep,
right?
I've got a little packable table behind me called the Catskill from Eureka. Last couple of years, they've really been making a push to get into outdoor furniture because, camping can take on several facets. Everything from camping in your backyard, going to a campground, to backpacking. We're seeing a lot of people, there's demand for quality folding chairs you can take with you when you camp. You can take with them to the soccer game, to the beach. And we see that with the tables as well. People want to set up, they want to have something sturdy. This all folds down, has an aluminum top. It all kind of folds up together. The frame facts down nice.
Into what size? Like suitcase size or something?
Yeah, roughly it'll be, stands about 3 feet tall, about 6 inches by probably 10 inches. You're still not going to carry it backpacking, but if you're car camping somewhere, or we sold a lot of them for tailgating. I mean, they're very popular at Packer games and Brewer games.
Oh, yeah. What about in tents? Is there much new in the world of Eureka tents?
We have a lot of new models in backpacking tents this year. We have several new series where they really looked at kind of how people backpack and their needs, and they really approached it from a good, better, best model. So we have 3 different series, and as you get up in each one, you get into better materials, lighter weight materials, aluminum pole sets. There's some new designs there. Family tents have been very popular for us. Our Copper Canyon series is still rolling right along, more of a straight wall design tent. So instead of having a curved dome, you've got straight walls, more headroom. It's definitely been going very well for us. Doing a lot with LED powered lights, camping lanterns, and flashlights. That's been a neat segment as well. It's been growing.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, we're just getting into that season now.
Absolutely. It's been a little bit of traditionally we're a little bit further ahead than we are. It's been a little bit of a weird season for us with the temperature.
Yeah.
But camping starts to roll end of April, May, and then especially as we get into June, July, we're in full swing.
The highest level of technology you have in your products is definitely in the fishing line, I would say. So
fishing and diving.
Diving, too, great.
Diving as well, computers.
Well, sure. Let's talk some about fishing and some of the products. I did a story in 2011 about a thing called the Talon, which was this remarkable new concept in an anchor. So why don't you talk about what the Talon is?
The Talon is a shallow water anchor for folks that bass fish traditionally, especially in a tournament situation. They're going to be getting to their fishing spot quickly. Traditionally, it's shallow water. So they want something to anchor the boat so they can fish. They don't want to have to worry about dropping an anchor out, tying off lines. So what the Talon is, it mounts on the rear of a boat. And traditionally, we've been doing 2, one on each back end of the boat. And it can be either 6 or 8 foot long. It's basically a fiberglass pole. It's an electronic system where it'll drive a spike into the ground underneath the boat.
It's a telescoping pole.
It's a telescoping pole. It'll probe the ground 3 times to make sure it has a good purchase into the ground, be it mud, dirt, wherever. And it'll hold the boat in place. You can activate it from the Talon itself or from a remote control. Now this year we have a wireless foot pedal you can have, so you don't even need to use your hands anymore. You can shut the boat off, hit the button, drop your anchors, get out and start fishing.
And let's remember the old, the scenario I remember is you get to the spot and then you go back to the back of the boat and you hoist the anchor and you just drop it in, and then inevitably there's mud and stuff, and then you're trying to tie it off and all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is the instantaneous.
Yeah, this is instant. It's set. You can set it for rough water mode, so if the water's a little rough, it'll probe it a little bit extra, make sure you've got a real good solid purchase. You don't have to mess with anything. It's either from wireless remote, foot pedal, or from the unit itself. It's instant. It drives down when you want to pull up anchor and go to your next spot. Same thing. Hit a button, automatically deploys, off you go.
Now, we mentioned that a lot of your brands were acquisitions, but there's also a lot of design and innovation going on in this company, and that was an example of something designed by this company, correct?
Absolutely. Yep, correct.
Yeah. Talk about the directional and the control systems for fishing boats. Now, it's just again, is remarkable.
Absolutely. We're starting to see a combination of technologies to where now this year we have a system out called the iPilot Link from Humminbird. And what that is a GPS control system that'll control your trolling motor, but it links up to your Humminbird fish finder, and then it utilizes topographical information provided by a Lake Master topographical memory card that you buy based on a geographical region.
So you buy a card for the lake, and then it knows the contours of the bottom of the lake.
It'll all the contours of the lake. You buy it based on a state or geographical region. Plug that into the fish finder. That'll incorporate it into the mapping, and now you've got your GPS technology. So now you can basically have the fish finder drive the boat.
Okay, before you describe that a little more, how widely available are these memory cards? You know, if I go to, I'll mention Duck Lake is where we went a couple of summers when I was a kid growing up in northern Wisconsin. Smallish lake on the chain of lakes. How is it likely there'd be a memory card?
Yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, it goes by the state. You know, so we've got a card for Wisconsin. There's this card for Minnesota. The company's based out of Minnesota, and it covers the majority of lakes. It's obviously not going to have every small little lake, but if it's a fishable lake, chances are better than average. They've got it mapped out.
Okay.
The information is on there.
Okay, so then talk more about the controls and what it would allow you to do and what situations.
Basically, what it allows you to do now is you can let the fish finder drive the boat. So you can plot a course on your fish finder. You can set waypoints that you want to fish along and activate it, and that fish finder and that GPS navigation will now control your motor, so you're free to fish. Say you're seeing fish that are about a 20-foot contour line on the map, you can have the GPS control follow that 20-foot contour line all the way around the lake, so once again, you can fish.
I assume you can control the speed?
You can control the speed, you can control the direction. You know, if, say, we were talking about this yesterday, if, say, you're looking on with Humminbird, they have side imaging sonar, and you see something that's maybe 20 feet off to one side from where you're fishing, you can set an offset on this. So now if you're on that 20-foot contour line, you can tell, you know what, I want to be 20 feet to one side of that contour line. It'll offset and it'll keep you on that 20-foot line the entire time.
Wow.
You can use the shoreline as a contour line, so you can keep yourself 50 feet off the shoreline, and it'll track right around. So it's a wonderful system.
There's a lot of technology involved, and so I can think of two barriers. One is there's a considerable cost to getting a whole system, but also, are you finding fishermen willing to learn that technology and embrace it so that they can really use it?
Willing is an understatement. It has been incredibly successful launch this year for us, to the point where we cannot get the product fast enough. We've had back orders ever since it was announced last fall. Yeah, I mean, fishermen are pretty savvy. I mean, at the end of the day, they want to catch fish, and they're not opposed to embracing new technology if it'll help get them on fish and make their time more productive. So, yeah, fishermen have been really accepting of the program, and we worked with a lot of professional fishermen. We've gotten a lot of input from folks. They did a lot of field testing on this before they went to market with it, and yeah, it's been.
Are these like weekend fishermen who are?
You could have everything from weekend fishermen to retirees to tournament pros. I mean, this is something that we've seen a full spectrum of people buying this. I mean, we were talking about this a little bit yesterday, trying to kind of narrow down who would use this. Anybody who likes to fish. I mean, it has been a wildly successful product.
Yeah, we should touch just very briefly on diving. What's the season? What's your selling season for diving gear?
Traditionally diving, you can do it all year. Here at our store, we tend to get pretty busy with diving in the winter months when people are going to warm, wonderful tropical places to dive. There is a contingent of folks that'll dive. We've got wonderful Great Lakes, a lot of shipwrecks, a lot of natural things to see up here. So, we do have people that dive all year round, but traditionally the dive season tends to be spring, summer. I know my in-laws in Florida who dive, they're just getting into their dive season now. Here, we deal with a lot of people who travel, but traditionally for us, it's over the winter months.
And what's interesting in your diving product line?
The diving product lines this year, we've had some neat launches. We've got a new dive computer that's basically a wristwatch size dive computer, so it's a full function watch and a dive computer, fully self-contained. You can download the information to your PC. It's a computer called the Meridian. That has been very popular.
Information such as what?
The length of your dive, the depth of your dive. It'll let you know any decompression stops you have to do. It'll also figure out what your bottom time is, how long you have to wait before you can dive again. So it really just helps make your diving safer. Instead of having to have the old Navy dive charts and do it all longhand and try and figure it out. The dive computers take they take into account everything you're doing, so it's consistently variable and updating. So it gives you a real accurate picture of how you're diving, and just to keep it safer.
Of all the areas we talked about, paddling, fishing, camping, diving, is there one that you think is just the most promising going into the next 5-10 years or even generation?
They're all different. Watercraft, you're seeing things change. The sit-on-top style kayaks are getting much fishier. Kayak fishing has gotten incredibly popular. The watercraft, we're starting to see stand-up paddle boards as a new segment of the paddle sports industry that's growing wildly. The high-tech side, diving because of its nature, its life support equipment, it's always going to be there, but I don't think you're going to have the rapid growth in it because there are physical concerns with it. Camping is always going to be popular. We've definitely seen a resurgence in camping, especially when the economy turned bad. People were staying closer to home. Camping has been wildly popular. The marine electronics side definitely has a lot of promise from a standpoint where now we're having the technology all working together. we were talking with a colleague recently, and I think we're past the point where hardware is the limiting factor. Now it's coming down to what do we need to do for the software to do? What can we make this stuff do? How can we make it work together? The big challenge there is making it intuitive enough so people can use, kind of getting back to your earlier point. I know with the iPilot, the original iPilot and the iPilot Link system, these things are wildly, just incredibly capable tools, but you always want to be conscious of who's going to be using it, because you could get just weekend fishermen out there using it, so you want to make it intuitive and user-friendly. That's been one of the challenges that I think they've met and done a great job with it.
Yeah. Well, if anything you've heard has intrigued you, come on down to the Johnson Outdoors retail store, 555 Main Street in the Johnson Building. You've been listening to Money Talks with Steve Van Dis of Johnson Outdoors. Steve, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm business reporter Michael Burke. Thanks to our producer, Scott Anderson. And please remember, Money Talks.